Hello, IP friends. Welcome to a very special edition with your favorite podcast host, Rita, and we reach in the. So today is not about any case. I don't have any case to review. I'm doing this for people that are always looking for ways to start their intellectual property practice. This is more of a career advice series. I hope one day or soon I'll have more intellectual property practitioners come tell us their journey. I know I did that in the Christmas edition where I had specialized IP practitioners come talk to us about their practice, but this is a bit more personal now, more like a journey to your intellectual property practice. So welcome to my special IP series hangout with me. So I don't know if I mentioned, but if you are an intellectual property practitioner from anywhere, any part of the world, and you want to hang out with me on this journey to your IP practice, please send me an email to ipseriesInfo@gmail.com, or you can send us a DM to ipseries_with_reader. Reader is spelled REEDAH. So on today's episode, I normally get asked this question: why IP? Why do you do what you do? How did you get started? Did you have to do a course? What's the requirement for you? Sometimes I get like really long paragraphs. Sometimes I get like very short messages. Sometimes I set up physical meeting, and I had one a couple of weeks ago. Sometimes I have phone call conversations or WhatsApp conversations with people that want to know how to start. And it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming sometimes when I get this request, because sometimes it feels like you're not doing enough, but the little you're doing actually, they say tiny drops makes at the end of the day fills up the bucket. So you have somewhere in the house leaking, and you put the bucket over, and then it just keeps dropping and dropping before you know it's full. So whatever it is you're doing to touch lives, make an impact, people are noticing, people are watching. I guess that's what keeps me going. So I have the support of my parents. I know it wasn't easy getting here, but I wouldn't want to bore you guys with a long story. But what are those challenges or prospects that intellectual property lawyers have today that were not existing within the last 10 years? I would say technology for one. Access to more information now. You have more video content, articles, mini blogs. I mean, with Twitter now, with TikTok rather, you see a lot of informations. People are passing out informations within 90 seconds. People are reviewing cases. There are more infographics, live sessions on Instagram and on Facebook, on Clubhouse, on what's the other one now? I keep forgetting. Well, let's move on. So I get asked this question sometimes from colleagues, sometimes from law students. So today is all about the professionals now. Now, intellectual property is not strictly for lawyers. I know in countries like the US and the UK, you have IP practitioners who were first engineers and chemists and physicists. Forgive me, guys, who studied some other thing and decided to delve into intellectual property. I know I had a guest on my show who wasn't a lawyer at first, but decided to go, learn more about patent. So yeah, First off, I think the first thing I'll say is this digital era has introduced a lot of job opportunities in view of the new emerging areas that keep coming up and springing up. We have now the most talked about emerging areas or frontiers is NFTs and the metaverse. What are those prospects for you as a lawyer? Um, then you have the uncommon or unpopular intellectual property rights, which I like to call them or refer them. You have the likes of geographical indication and plant varieties, biotech as well. These are areas that are not well developed within our region. So that's something that you may want to, carve a niche on. I think we need to also do more of specialization in intellectual property. So while being a generalist intellectual property lawyer, I think being a specialized patent attorney like at Bass Patent, you can check him out on Twitter. Most of my IP gurus that I know are on Twitter, then LinkedIn as well, and then maybe a few on Instagram, but mostly Twitter and LinkedIn. Then corporate lawyer like Mark Jaffe, who's also been a guest on my podcast. Then you have fashion lawyer like Liz Lanjo, sports and governors, my very good friend and sis Beverly. Um, Entertainment lawyer like Foza. Foza is a legend in Nigeria. Foza, Lola of the Duffel Bag, Velveteen lawyer, Okpeyemi, Akiyemi, trying to remember, and a lot of other entertainment lawyers in Nigeria. They're geographical education experts and policy maker. My sister as well, Tolu Olaloye. She's a senior associate in Jackson Etienne Jackson JEE basically. I had mentioned in my conversation that thanks to the internet, we now have access to more materials and information at your fingertips. So once you have your data subscriptions, you can do your Google search. Sometimes I get very personal questions like, Henry, where can I get this material from? And sometimes I don't know what to say. Did I say I'm gobsmacked or I'm like short? Like I think what has worked for me is for every time I want to do a research, my first point of call is to check my library. I have a couple of intellectual property law books. I was gifted a couple, and I use them very well. So when I can't really get what I want, then I surf the internet. Google is my first point of call for any kind of material. So I can rephrase my questions 1,000 ways to actually get what I'm looking for. Sometimes I don't really get it, but I might see a keyword that gets stuck in my head, and then I use that to build on my content. If you can't find anything on Google, Google Scholar is dead. I mean, that platform stuck with me right from my master's, where we're doing a dissertation and writing assignments, and they're like, when you're listing resources, Google Scholar is like your best bet for cases and um, articles. Just have a timeline. No, we're told 5 years, so you can just put between, this is 2022, so let's say between 2017 and 2022, and all the content you need or all the materials you need to have, you will find them there. Now with the internet, there's ease of networking. Like I said, I network with, or I have access to intellectual property practitioners. I met most people on Twitter. We've never seen, but we've talked. We've also interacted. Then LinkedIn is another place. Getting mentors now is easy. I get mentorship requests a lot, guys. I always say no, and I'm being honest, because I feel like my level of expertise isn't where the experts really are. I'm still trying to get more practical knowledge and the rest of it. But what works for me most times is I always tell people, let's opt for like informal mentorship programs. So if you have questions that are not client related, you just genuinely need another person's opinion on something, you can send me a DM. You have access to me either on my WhatsApp or my social media platform. If I give you my number, please don't abuse it. I have people that have said, I've experienced hard instances where people send me, I'm not close to you, but I did give you my number, and you send me a message at 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. Fam, I'm not being proud, but I'm not going to respond till I wake up the next day. That's just my own policy, because sometimes that's like my own me time, and I wouldn't appreciate if someone is like encroaching into my me time. Mentorship opportunities. I feel like if you can't get a mentor now, you can shadow someone. Shadowing basically is watching what the person do, following the person's content and post. If the person is speaking somewhere, attend and learn. If the person writes something, read, like, share. If the person is going to be attending an event, be there. If you get the opportunity to talk with the person, make the conversation worthwhile. Um, your work does not end with you just registering your client's intellectual property, and I feel that's what most people see as being intellectual property lawyers in Nigeria. Uh, you have a lot of work in terms of enforcement and monitoring, and advising your clients on the best form of strategies and what to do. Sitting at meetings and helping them with negotiations and stuff like that. It's not a hobby. This is not a hobby. This is actually a business for you. This is a business. The moment you see it as a business, you won't slack. You actually give it your 100%, which is good because that keeps you motivated. Then, a career in this profession is not an illusion. There are real opportunities to be an IP policy maker. You could be a judge. So in Nigeria, if you're about 12 to 15 years, High Court, Federal High Courts, you could be a judge. You apply. If you want to be on the bench, you could be a licensing officer for entertainment bodies or tech companies. To be an IP blogger. I think one of the first IP blogger posts I ever came across was IP Cat by Eleonora Rosati. That stuck with me, and most of the content that comes out of that platforms are mind-blowing. Although they are EU and UK centered, and recently we still had seen a couple of African content coming out as well. So once in a while, IPCAT puts out a publication for interested interns. I think I applied once, but I didn't make it. But yeah, you can be an in-house counsel at a corporation. You could work with international organization. You could work at the registries, any of the intellectual property offices. You could head an intellectual property office or registry or organization. I would love to head one or be a judge. So I put out a post one time. I think that was a few weeks ago, saying if we do eventually have like a specialized IP court in Nigeria, I would want to be. The thought of being a judge would, be really interesting for me. And one comment stood out for me where someone was like, wouldn't that be a waste of time? You barely have cases. And I was like, should I respond? Should I not respond? But I just chose to ignore that comment because I felt that was too negative for me. So not everyone will see things from your own point of view, but it's fine. You get now with tech and everything, with Zoom and Microsoft Teams and Webos and the rest of them, you have access to free intellectual property events. So it could be fashion event related, it could be music event related, it could be patent related events. It could be review of a law or a public hearing or webinars for capacity building. anything. Just take advantage of. No knowledge is a waste. I mean, the pandemic taught us a lot that sitting at home, you could attend 5 to 6 Zoom conversations or meetings in a day. But with the likes of yeah, I was trying to remember Twitter Spaces. With the likes of Twitter Spaces and Clubhouse, conversations are always ongoing. For people that feel like Instagram consumes a lot of data, if you're in Nigeria, I'm sure you understand. um, but yeah, you have access to free events and webinars that will aid your capacity building. So you won't say distance. Distance is not a barrier anymore. I mean, the internet has taken care of that already. Then, in light of the growth and popularity of NFTs and metaverse, your legal skills and knowledge will come in handy, and also developing yourself to be a legal analyst or blockchain and smart contract digital lawyer. I have a friend, I call her my chunky because she likes Korean series and I like Korean series as well. So Chungi in Korean, South Korean is my friend. So her name is Fito Bafemi. You guys should check her out. She's doing an amazing job. I mean, she's one of the few female blockchain lawyers that I know that has been consistent from when I met her in 2017. Yeah, we met virtually while I worked at Infusion Lawyers. It was Infusion Lawyers is a virtual law firm, so that was a firm that actually where I cut my teeth in intellectual property because it was a specialized firm. So I worked there up until 2019. But Senator is a good mentor and a good boss, and he encouraged us as well to focus on our areas to build our capacity and expertise. In the event that you get briefs, you are going to head that particular brief. So the challenge was there, but yeah, Faith Obafemi is a specialized blockchain and smart contract digital lawyers. So if you're looking for a mentor to shadow, Faith is someone you can shadow. Then again, the digital era is one of a decentralized world, and now we have more user-generated content. So your expertise will always be needed. I mean, the beauty of being a lawyer is everyone is going to need your services, but you have to kind of niche it and restrict, so you don't get, just have a focus, so you don't get distracted. In case you hear any voice in the background, it's my mom watching wrestling. My whole family watches wrestling, save for me, but sometimes I sit with them. But yeah. Then you don't also need to do a master's like I did. If you can do one, please get one. I got my master's degree from University of Derby, which was a very good experience. I had a very good experience there. I think one lecturer that actually really helped me was Dr. Yorg Upada. He was very instrumental to my study there at school, but he's no longer there again. I think he's in another uni right now. Then there are other schools as well. I schooled in the UK, so there are other schools in the US, anywhere. If you want to do intellectual property, just I think what kind of influenced my decision to go to Derby was the fact that it wasn't just intellectual property. I saw intellectual property and information technology law, and I was like, what is this all about? Like, tell me more. I was roped into it already, and it was really interesting. I think that was the first time I came across data protection and the interplay of intellectual property, cross-border disputes. Then one case that actually stood out for me and also inspired my project research or my dissertation research was a oh god, it keeps coming to my head, but I'm going to remember it. Meltwater case. Yeah, it was all about hyperlinking another case. So you put a link in your post that links that post to another post. It's a bit complicated, but that kind of inspired my dissertation research. I wrote on the protection of names, word, phrases as either a copyright or a trademark, and I did a comparison between the US, the UK, and the Nigerian jurisdiction. It was an interesting one, an interesting experience. But yeah, other than University of Derby, Queen Mary as well would be my next, or the next school I would say I'm fascinated with. I wish and I'm hoping one day I get the scholarship to do my PhD. The career applied last year and I didn't get it, and I was so sad. I cried that day when I read the email, and I was like, "Oh, you didn't get it." I cried, but I will not give up. So even if I don't go to Queen Mary, I will definitely check out other PhD, fully funded, guys, fully funded. But yeah, um, you do not necessarily need to do a master's like I did. You can opt for the WIPO distance learning course. Um, Subscribe to blogs, follow intellectual property related community conversation, association groups, engage the stakeholders, look out for trendy conversations. Like every day there are new intellectual property cases. We may not have new cases every day in Nigeria, but internationally there are cases. So if you subscribe to all of these blogs, you're going to be overwhelmed with information. Like you really have to take your time each jurisdiction and go through the cases. I most times like to focus on cases that I consider to be a bit controversial, just to drive home my points when I'm doing my review or commentaries on the cases. And when I do that, I look at it from the African perspective with a bias to Nigeria. Like, okay, so I'm familiar. I have familiarized myself. I need to drink water, guys. I have familiarized. Oh, apologies. Forgive me for listening to this part. But I have done the needful in terms of educating myself and reading the intellectual property law in Nigeria. So the copyright, trademark, patent, industrial design, not trade secret, plant variety. We have a plant variety act, and then we have a geographical indication bill in the works. So familiarize yourself with all of those things. Then you need to educate and create awareness through media, different media formats like podcasting, video content, articles, mini blog, um, collaborate as well. You can write books, articles, write for journals, follow trends and hot topic. Then again, another important thing is that you need to write out your career goals. So I was involved in an apologies. I was involved in an arbitration mentorship program in the early years of my career. I think 2017, 2018, which was organized by the by ITA. It's ITA, so it's an international body for he asked me then was what were my arbitration career goals. So I'm gonna ask you, and I want you to write it. If you have a diary, you put it in on your phone notepad or something. What is your career goal? What is your intellectual property career goal? For me, hey God, I have this dream of working for WIPO. So for every WIPO advert I see, I always make sure that I I apply. But I've never gotten called back, which is so sad and depressing at the same time and disappointing. So write out your career goals as it relates to intellectual property and follow through with it one day at a time. We're all still learning on the job. I mean, you might feel like you're an expert in trademark or patent, and then this case will just land on your decks, and you'll be like, oh, what the hell? Like, where is this coming from? Those kind of things happen, or you get an agreement that you have to review and you're seeing like very weird terms and like, I'm not sure this is associated with this. But then when you do your research, you're like, oh right, you get those aha moments. Yeah. So don't make it look like you're in competition with anyone. Nobody's really competing with you. Focus on building your career. My career goal, one of okay, I just list two. Okay, I've already said one. Working for WIPO is like my topmost career goal. I pray I get it one day. You guys, please pray for me as well. I think the second one would be that I really wanted to be a well-known intellectual property practitioner, not just in Nigeria, but in Africa and internationally. I didn't know how that was going to work out, but when I started IP series, I think it just took off from there. I'm still on that journey. I'm still on my way. I'm still on the road to being a well-known intellectual, not well-known, but at least one of the best, or at least the best, baddest, the baddest intellectual property lawyer. So I have someone. I think a couple of people in my network call me IP goddess, and I'm like, oh, I start to blush. Then my very good friend Choma Edja calls me Star Girl. She always calls me Star Girl. So that gets me to smile, a grin from my cheek to the other chin. And yeah. So what can your career goals in terms of intellectual property? I think one thing that I took away as an arbitrator was, you know, the the zeal or the will to be focused. So I have my arbitration goals, I have my intellectual property goals. Now I have my goal as a podcast host. I have my goal as an intellectual property blogger. I also have my goal as an intellectual property educator. So for each thing that you delve into, just have a goal. Like for this year, bang bang bang. This year, like for my podcast, and this year, I'm hoping I make it to my 100th episode by December. Hey, if I do it, oh, I can't wait though. But I'm looking forward to my 100th episode. I'm in my 64th episode, so I have about 36 more episodes to make it to 100. So I have between July and December to publish 36 episodes. That means every week you guys must listen to 2 of my episodes. I'm hoping I meet up, but if I don't, no pressure. But I'm looking forward to publishing my 100th episode. Yeah. Then volunteer for IP related stuff. So there's an IP webinar coming up. You can volunteer either informally by helping them to publicize their event, or if you know anybody organizing one, just say, hello, excuse me, I'm right here. I would love to help you guys. You get? So I think one of the things I'm looking forward to is actually hosting the first, not the first now my first ever intellectual property physical conference in Nigeria. So I'm looking for sponsors. Right now, I'm looking for sponsors and partners. So if this is something you want to do, please send us an email to ipseriesinfo@gmail.com. We need funding. I won't tell you guys about the location for now. But yeah, then now moving on to the challenges. Moving on to challenges. So what are the challenges of being an intellectual property lawyer? First of all, your location could either make or break your growth. This will also I refer to your career goals. So I'm based in Port Harcourt. What are those challenges? Not everyone Port Harcourt is not like Lagos. Lagos is said to be like the hub for entertainment and media and everything glam, bling, and and all whatnot. But then I've been able to do what I do from Port Harcourt. So it's all about you at the end of the day. If you're based in Kaduna or Enugu or any other place, you also have to put yourself out there in terms of networking and making sure that people within your inner circle. So because I'm a lawyer, most lawyers in Port Harcourt know I do intellectual property, which is kudos to me. But then I also get that conversation where people are like, I thought you were a Lagos lawyer. And that's because I have done and I'm still doing my job in terms of building my capacity, making sure that I stand out. Or I'm so focused on my career right now. Like I really want to do so well as an intellectual property lawyer and also as an arbitrator. It seems like because this is more of an intellectual property conversation, I want to be so focused on intellectual property. But I'm also an arbitrator in training. I've been a podcast host for 2 years now. June 30th to make it 1 year, I started blogging officially. But mostly about intellectual property. So my career keeps expanding and growing. And I've told myself my location will not limit my success. So it doesn't matter whether I'm in Port Harcourt. Secondly, you may get discouraged that you shouldn't specialize early in your career. I would really love to reserve my comments on this, but this is what I have to say. Everybody's journey is not the same. Your foundation is not the same. My foundation is what got me here. My foundation is what got me here. Started at Madina University as taking it as an elective course in my final year, and then going ahead to do a master's before actually going to law school. So my mindset was already like, okay, because I did this, I'm going to focus on this so that my certificate doesn't go to waste. But I found out that I genuinely enjoyed the course. So in as much as it's not a hobby, I have genuine interest in this pathway. Now you have conversation as to you need to explore, figure out what you like. Because I also came in contact with arbitration during my masters, and I was like, okay, these are the 2 areas I want to specialize in. So I wouldn't want, if you're listening to me, please don't be discouraged. No knowledge is a waste. If you started out, I know one time I attended an event in Port Harcourt, organized. Oh God. So we had like a law event, sort of like a career law event, and one of the speakers was Mrs. Essien. She's a well-known Port Harcourt lawyer. She's also a chartered arbitrator in Port Harcourt. And she was like, she started working in the bank, and by the time she started doing her law practice, her knowledge from the working in the bank helped her when she got banking briefs. So no knowledge is a waste. If you were opportune to intern in a commercial firm or a core litigation firm, that would form your foundation at the end of the day. So your foundation really matters. And I was open to what this area would offer. I don't know if in the next 5 to 10 years, my interest might transition to something else. But for now, I am taking advantage of the information and the knowledge I got prior to going to law school. I did not say because I didn't go to law school when I did, I was supposed to go with my colleagues or my classmates. I'm not going to focus on IP. No, I didn't just do the course because I wanted to just stay there. So, don't get discouraged to specialize early in your career, because when this conversation comes up at law events, I always like, I don't know. I won't say if I don't roll my eyes, but I just feel like people should have an open mind to the practice, basically. Don't discourage anybody from specializing. If they want to specialize, let them specialize. They might change their minds eventually, but at that point in time, they should make the best of what they have. Joining intellectual property organizations are sometimes expensive. So you have the likes of the International Trademark Association or International Bar Association and all the other intellectual property associations. There's always a fee. Now, if you look at the Nigerian practice, it's not so lucrative. If you're not working in a top tier firm or a big or corporate organization, you're going to be struggling financially. So those issues that conversation comes up once in a while. But if you're determined, like I've told myself that I must be in Singapore next year. I don't know how that's going to happen, but I'm hoping that happens soon. Um, Join an IP organization. So we have the likes of, I have an IP hub or an organization called the Intellectual Property Society of Nigeria, which I started during the pandemic. We've had 2 virtual events and 2 virtual conferences. We are working on the fifth event rather, which is like the third edition of the um, IP conference. But we're looking forward to hosting a physical event. So if you'd like to sponsor events, any of the sessions, if you'd like to partner with us, send me a message. Then you have the likes of ePlan, you have the likes of there's this one that does training. Can't remember the name now, but yeah. I think we have then you have the MBA SBL IP committee as well. That's the section of business law. They have their conference coming up next month. I think towards the end of third or fourth week in July. So you could register with the section of business law and then click um, pay your dues and then pick the IP community as one of your interested committee rather. Oh gosh, sorry. Then attending non-free events and conferences may be expensive. Not me. Okay, let me use me. International events are not cheap because other than paying the conference fee, you're talking about flight tickets, accommodation, feeding while you're there. Then if you want to also be involved in the IP law summer classes or courses, this ones will cost a lot of money. Then very few companies in Nigeria understand the role and importance of an intellectual property lawyer. And so they end up mashing up all the rules. So they advertise for a lawyer, but because of this, that they have, say they're trying to get like a technology transfer deal, and that conversation comes. Oh, did you do intellectual property? We need you come and do X, Y, Z, and then you see that you're advising either wrongly or rightly or whatever. So we need more companies in Nigeria to take intellectual property serious. We also need the creatives themselves to take it serious. We need the inventors to take it seriously. They have limited intellectual property cases because not everyone wants to sue, especially in this era of social media call out. We are quick to tweet or do a Facebook post or do an Instagram live. I mean, if you follow the conversation or the story about the Oga Sabinu something huge case, it was because of the social media call out that a lot of people got informed about it, even though the manager eventually deleted the video. But that was how most of us got wind of it. Very few law firms specialize in intellectual property. So I won't give a number, but I don't think we have up to 50 law firms in Nigeria that specialize in intellectual property, and every year we keep graduating about 5,000 plus. But then the beauty of the law in Nigeria is that you can be a solicitor, advocate, and barrister. So you're not just limited to law firms. You have organizations that need your services. I'm consulting for a tourism and hospitality brand, which is interesting and insightful. So there are opportunities there. You just need to show them why they need you as an intellectual property lawyer. We have also very few intellectual property events. Prior to COVID, some of the events were not publicized. So by the time you are aware of it, it's over. Then the challenge is sometimes you're dealing with uninformed clients. So you have questions like, I have this idea I want to patent, and then you're trying to inform the person that it's not a patent he needs because ideas don't enjoy protection and they get upset. Or you have the ones that basically like, okay, they want to know how the whole thing goes but don't want to pay for consultation, or they were just informed about so someone was like, oh, I think what you okay because because of the Timmy Dakolo case, someone posted something on the platform that thanks to Augusta, people have started fighting for their intellectual property, and I was like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me right now? Like seriously. So it feels like we have people that are not well knowledgeable when it comes to intellectual property. I mean, that's on client level now. We need more IP awareness, advocacy, education. So all the relevant stakeholders, we all need to put our hands together and educate the public, have more IP related events. Some may be free, some may not be free. You have master classes and the rest of them conference, which people have to pay. But yeah, more work needs to be done. Then we are in a dire need of a specialized court. Our laws need to be updated to, fit the recent developments. I know the copyright bill is yet to be passed, but that's on way. The geographic indication bill as well. We're looking forward to that. Okay, we have the plant variety bill. I know the trademark bill is also on its way, and the patent and the design act as well. So fingers crossed, there's still hope for us as lawyers, as law students, as practitioners, as stakeholders. So I'd like to say I've come to the end of today's intellectual property hangout with your favorite I want to believe I'm your favorite podcast host. I would really love to believe that I'm your favorite podcast host, but yeah. I hope I've answered your questions. For everyone who has ever sent me, if I did not respond to your message because you sent me a one-liner, please forgive me. I'm also a human being like you as well. All these questions sometimes you get carried away with what's happening around you, and but my apologies if me not responding seemed a bit rude. So how can you be an intellectual property lawyer? You need to decide if that's what you really want to do. You focus on it, like I'm focusing on intellectual property and arbitration, and now I'm podcasting and content creation. Life is really funny. But yeah, you also need to be determined. You need to be focused. You need to collaborate. Read. Oh Lord, you need to read. Read, educate yourself. Know the law. You are now the law. But yeah, I think that answered all the questions I usually get. Challenges. I don't think there are any other challenges, but I think my own personal challenge will be those I always come to ask me for project help. I need help picking a topic. I feel it's kind of rude. That's my personal opinion, because before you decide to do a dissertation or intellectual property, you must have had an area that was that caught your fancy and you needed help. So it's a different thing if you're like, okay, I'm writing on this and I need your views on this. I can actually do that for you. Just give me a timeline as to when I can do that, and I'll do it within my own time, to fit within your own time as well, which I hope you understand when I do. But yeah, I think this was a good conversation. I feel like I'm interviewing myself and responding to myself. But yeah, thank you guys for listening to me rant about my journey to intellectual property practice. You guys should look out for me. Please subscribe to my blog on Substack. Just type IP series Substack and subscribe. Or if you see anywhere that I shared my link, please subscribe. What else? Yeah, follow me on Instagram, Edjo, and like and comment. I'm begging. Stream, listen to my podcast on Anchor, Google Podcast, Spotify, iTunes. Edjo, I need you guys to help me. But yeah, thank you guys for listening to me. I hope this episode makes or leaves an impact in your life. I hope it helps you make the right decision career wise. And please, I'm going to say it again, I'm looking for sponsors for the 3rd edition of our intellectual property conference coming up in October. So Edjo, come through for your special baby girl. So see you in the next IP series career conversation. Cheers, guys. And before I forget, if you're in Nigeria, Biko, Edjo, please help us get your PVC. Go outside. They have extended the registration. I'm going to be, I hope to be consistent in reminding you guys. So if you listen to my podcast and you have not got to get your PVC, things are tough. Please get your PVC and help us come 2023 during the election and vote in the right candidates. At the moment, I'm going to, I'm logging out right now, shutting down. So see you guys in the next episode. So if you've done your PVC, please take a screenshot, tag, just write #IP series, #IP friends, get your PVC, and I'll see you and retweet. Thank you. Have a blessed day, guys. Bye.